Hello everyone, and welcome to our presentation on our first superfood today, pomegranate. Some interesting facts about pomegranate are that pomegranate trees are native from Iran all the way to the Himalayas in North India. Pomegranate was first introduced to California in 1769. Each pomegranate fruit can have between 200 and 1,400 seeds, and those seeds are also called arils. Pomegranate trees can live for over 200 years, and the most common color of pomegranate is pink and red, but can also range from yellow to purple. Pomegranate is in season in the northern hemisphere from October through February, so it's a winter fruit. And it's also considered one of the most ancient fruits and comes up in many cultures throughout history. It's also found in religion and mythology throughout history, and it's a symbol of everything from fertility to wealth. Some nutrition facts we have on pomegranate. We'll review some of these now. So in 1/2 cup of pomegranate, we have 72 calories, 3.5 grams of fiber. And remember, some of the benefits of fiber are that it helps maintain our bowel health and also helps us control blood sugar. We have 1.5 grams of protein, which helps us maintain our muscles and keep our skeletal system healthy. And then we have some vitamins. Our first vitamin is vitamin C, and you'll see we have about 14% of our daily recommended intake in 1/2 cup of our pomegranate arils. And remember, vitamin C can help us boost immune system and ward off infection and disease. We also look at vitamin K. Vitamin K comes in at 18% of our daily estimated needs in our 1/2 cup of pomegranate. And vitamin K helps us reduce bone loss and fracture risk. And finally, under vitamins, we have folate. In our 1/2 cup of pomegranate seeds, we have about 8% of our daily recommended needs of folate. And remember, folate is a B vitamin that can help improve our cognition. And finally, under minerals, we're looking at potassium, which is provided about 6% of our daily estimated intake. And potassium is good for normal nerve function, heart rhythm, energy levels, and brain function. Some of the benefits of having pomegranate in our lives and in our weekly or daily regimen. Pomegranate extracts have also been evaluated for their anti-carcinogenic activity against numerous different types of cancers, particularly prostate cancer, renal cancer, and it reduces the impact of other cancers, including lung, breast, and cervical cancers. It's also been shown to slow the progression of neurodegenerative disorders such as Alzheimer's disease and other dementias. Pomegranate compounds have been shown to help protect and treat heart disease by preventing cholesterol to oxidize and preventing that formation of plaque in the arteries. And finally, pomegranate juice and its extracts were used in in vitro stool cultures and were proven to enhance the growth of bifidobacteria and lactobacilli, which are healthy microbes in our gut that help us keep a healthy flora. While it increased these healthy gut microbes, it also simultaneously inhibited the growth of one of our other microbes that's not so good, called Clostridia, or if you've ever heard the term C. diff. Some of the uses that people have for pomegranate in their daily menu are to include pomegranate arils and seeds on yogurt or as a cereal topping. Some people enjoy them just by themselves. And some people, on the bottom you can see here, might turn it into a pomegranate avocado toast. So this would just be taking a piece of bread, toasting it, putting some mashed avocado. I like to add a little drizzle of olive oil and lemon juice to my mashed avocado, spreading that over the toast, and then topping with some pomegranate seeds. And then you can see on the right-hand side of the slide how to actually disassemble a pomegranate fruit. So in this first picture, they've cut a square into the top of the fruit and pulled off the top, sort of like you might do a pumpkin or some type of squash. Then you can see in the second picture, they're cutting lines all the way down, about 7 different lines or at each membrane of the pomegranate. And then in the fourth picture, you can see what they've done is they've pulled those sections apart and spread it out so it looks like a star. And then you just use your thumbs to squeeze out the seeds and collect them in a bowl. Many stores also have this already prepared, so you can buy the pomegranate seeds by themselves, or some people like to drink pomegranate juice. Just be careful of the sugar level. And that's it for our presentation on pomegranate. Next up, we'll be talking about dark chocolate. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Abby Palmquist and I'm a Morrison dietetic intern from Greenville, South Carolina. And today Laura, Vanessa, and I will be presenting on the superfood of the month of February, which is dark chocolate. I hope you enjoy this presentation and learn something new, as well as follow along with our recipe at the end of the presentation. Some background and history on dark chocolate. Dark chocolate dates back to the ancient Mayans and Aztecs. The ancient Mayans consumed chocolate, but they called it cocoa. Some of us still call it that today, and they would either drink it or use it for medicinal purposes. The Aztecs viewed chocolate as a cure to all illnesses, including fevers, diarrhea, angina, and tooth decay. However, in 1518, Hernan Cortez, who was a European explorer, was responsible for the integration of dark chocolate into Europe, which then spread into Mexico and then eventually into America. Hot chocolate was first consumed in Mexico and was made by roasting the cocoa bean, adding water, oil, and chili powder, hence why they called it dark chocolate, as it was a spicy drink. Today we know it, hot chocolate is a sweet drink with milk and whipped cream on top that many of us enjoy to this day. What many of us do not know are there are a lot of health benefits to eating dark chocolate. I want to preface this and say we shouldn't be eating 2 full bars of full-size dark chocolate every single day, but a piece or two every day has actually been shown to do wonders for our health. There has been extensive research completed on different health benefits of dark chocolate. Dark chocolate contains flavonols and antioxidants. Flavonols can increase blood vessel elasticity, which decreases your blood pressure and improves your blood flow to your organs, especially the brain, which can help improve your memory and cognition. Antioxidants have disease fighting properties, which protect your body against infection and free radicals and help you boost your immune system. Dark chocolate is also rich in iron, zinc, magnesium, copper, and phosphorus. And if we are watching the news right now, there's a big buzz about iron and zinc because they also boost your immune system, and you can find these micronutrients in dark chocolate. Now, we should be aiming for above 80% dark chocolate. You'll see that on the label of your dark chocolate. 80% is the best, or above is the best dark chocolate you can consume for your health. Now, the process of actually producing dark chocolate that we eat today is a very interesting process and has a lot of different steps. The first step is cultivation. So, cocoa beans can only grow in hot, wet, tropical climates near the equator, which are very specific places such as South America, Southeast Asia, and West Africa. Now, 1 to 3 cocoa beans are taken from the pod, which you can see in the image on this slide, and are put into a hot, wet place to germinate and then will sprout into small trees. These plants love shade as the climate has to be just right, not too sunny, not too shady, not too hot, not too cold. Then there's the collection of the cocoa pods. The trees that we just mentioned take 3 to 5 years to bear fruit. Then, after that happens, the fruit takes 5 to 6 weeks to ripen. And there are only 2 harvests per year traditionally for cocoa pods and cocoa beans. After the collection and the harvesting, the next step is fermentation. This is the most important stage because this is where the chocolate flavor that we all love develops. In the fermentation process, traditionally, these pods are wrapped in banana leaves to ferment, and this produces an alcoholic substance. Then the pods are heated to a high temperature of around 133 degrees Fahrenheit to kill the seeds so they can't germinate anymore, which ends up yielding the cocoa bean. The next step is the drying process, where the beans are dried in the sun to prevent mold before the shipping and processing process.
Hi everyone, my name is Laura Leone and I'm a Morrison Healthcare dietetic intern from Pennsylvania. And today I'm going to continue with our presentation on dark chocolate. As Abby mentioned, the final step in harvesting cocoa beans is a drying process. After the cocoa beans are dried, local traders and sales organizations prepare the cocoa beans for shipping to processing plants. The place of delivery, quantity, and quality of the bean are determined by traders, buyers, and brokers. There are several factors that determine the price of the cocoa bean, such as time of year, quality of the bean, and climate changes. Cocoa beans are shipped in sacks or in containers that prevent moisture retention. The cocoa beans are delivered to ports, where trucks or trains transport the beans to manufacturing facilities for further processing. Once the cocoa beans have reached manufacturing facilities, they are ready to undergo further processing. After the drying process, cocoa beans are roasted to develop additional color, flavor, and aroma. The beans are run through a special machine called a winnowing machine that cracks the shells, separating them from the inner bean called nibs. Next, the nibs are ground to create cocoa liqueur, which are cocoa particles suspended in cocoa butter. The cocoa liqueur is pressed to extract the cocoa butter, leaving a solid mass called a cocoa press cake that can be ground into cocoa powder. The processor may treat the cocoa liqueur with an alkali solution to reduce bitterness. This treatment produces Dutch processed cocoa. To make dark chocolate, cocoa liqueur is mixed with cocoa butter, sugar, and emulsifiers. Dark chocolate contains 50 to 90% cocoa solids, cocoa butter, and sugar, whereas milk chocolate contains anywhere from 10 to 50% cocoa solids, cocoa butter, milk, and sugar. The mixture is refined as it travels through a series of rollers until a smooth paste is formed. This improves the texture of the chocolate. To further develop flavor and texture, the mixture is poured into conchas or large agitators that stir and smooth the mixture under heat. This evenly distributes the cocoa butter within the chocolate. The mixture is then passed through a heating, cooling, and reheating process known as tempering to prevent discoloration and control crystallization of the cocoa butter. Finally, the mixture is poured into molds to be packaged and distributed for sale.
Hello, my name is Vanesa Kline, and I'm a dietetic intern with Morrison Healthcare based in Las Vegas, Nevada. Dark chocolate can be made into all sorts of wonderful treats. You'll find it in chocolate bars, you'll find it in truffles, find it in powders that you can put into your milk. You can also find it in meal replacement bars or protein bars as an addition. And you can also cook or bake with it, as we're going to see on the next slide. So the recipe we're going to do today is a recipe for double dark chocolate shortbread cookies. Prep time is only 15 minutes. There is 3 hours that you have to chill it, and then cook time is 12 minutes. So it's a pretty simple recipe, and the yield is about 18 cookies. So like I said, this recipe is pretty simple and easy to do. It actually only has 7 ingredients. Well, my version has 7. The original recipe actually has 6, calling for an entire cup of unsalted butter. However, to keep more in tune with the healthy theme we have going, I chose to substitute a large portion of that unsalted butter with unsweetened applesauce. Unsweetened applesauce, as some of you may already know, is a great substitute for butter, especially when room temperature butter is called for in baking recipes such as cakes, cupcakes, and cookies. I did decide to keep a little bit of that butter for that added touch of decadence. I mean, this is a dark chocolate recipe after all. The other ingredients listed were half a cup of confectioner's sugar. We want that sifted. Half a cup of dark cocoa powder. I used Hershey's cocoa. 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour. 1 cup of dark chocolate chips, and 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. On a side note, when selecting the cocoa powder and chocolate chips for this recipe, I did decide to avoid using dark chocolate that had been treated with that Dutch processed cocoa, the treatment with the alkali solution that Laura mentioned earlier, because that treatment does destroy some of those wonderful flavonoids that Abby mentioned at the beginning of the process, and we want to keep as much of those as we can. All right, let's get started. So the first step was to cream the butter, cocoa powder, and sugar together until completely combined and smooth. And you can see in that first picture when I was sifting the confectioner's sugar, it was quite a messy endeavor, but it was well worth it. But once it was smooth, I added in the 2 teaspoons of vanilla and I continued whisking. Now the recipe did say that I could use a stand mixer, but I chose to do it the good old-fashioned way with a whisk. It was easy enough. Once that was smooth and creamy, I added in the 1.5 cups of flour, and then I mixed that together, making sure it was thoroughly blended while not over mixing it. So for this step, I actually used a little bit of the whisk, and then I used my hands to get it nice and smooth without overdoing it. So after mixing in all those ingredients, the confectioner's sugar, the unsweetened applesauce, the butter, the flour, the cocoa powder, and the vanilla extract, I had a nice smooth ball. So I folded in the cup of dark chocolate chips, and then I sprinkled the cocoa powder onto my countertop, or you can sprinkle it onto your board, however you choose, so that it didn't stick to the surface and it didn't stick to my rolling pin when I was rolling it out. So the recipe gave you 2 ways on how you wanted to handle cutting and getting those cookies. The first method was for roll and cut cookies. So you formed an 8-inch disc using the rolling pin. You wrapped it in plastic and refrigerated it for at least 3 hours, and then you take it out and roll the disc out to about a 1/3 inch thickness and cut the cookies out with a 2.5 inch round cookie cutter. Again, we're using cocoa powder liberally to prevent the dough from sticking to the surface and to the rolling pin. I chose to use the second method, which was slice and bake cookies. So I formed a log about 10 inches long, wrapped it in plastic wrap, smoothing that dough as I went along, and then I twisted the ends to secure. I'd used quite a bit of plastic wrap, as you see in the picture. It's nice and smooth and well wrapped, nice and tightly wrapped. I placed it in the refrigerator for 3 hours until it was firm enough to slice, and then I took it out and I sliced into about 1/3 inch slices, and some of them did kind of crumble, but I just reformed them as the recipe suggested, and they were good to go. So you're going to preheat the oven to 325 degrees. And now that you've selected how you're going to get your cookies cut out, whether it's going to be the roll and cut or you're going to do the slice and bake the way I did, you're going to place those cookies on a parchment-lined baking sheet and bake them for about 12 to 15 minutes. The cookies will still be soft when you take them out, but you want that. They'll firm up as they cool. And after they've cooled on that parchment-lined baking sheet for about 10 minutes, you're going to carefully transfer them to a cooling rack. Now it's time to enjoy. So here we have our nutrition information. Now this is per cookie, so you can see that this is meant to be as a treat. Dark chocolate is a wonderful addition to any diet, but as was mentioned earlier, you don't want to eat 2 whole bars or 18 cookies, but do enjoy the ones you do eat, okay?